What would be your best advice to give someone that's trying to do what you're doing?
Okay, I got two answers for that. The first is be yourself. You know, to thine own self, be true. Like, don't try to do something that the next Joe is doing. You know, he's over here, you know, tap dancing with half a watermelon on his head, you know, in a kiddie pool, and he gets rich doing that. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that's gonna work for you. It might, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, is that really you? You know, you might be rich, but you might be miserable inside, you know? Do you, first of all. Create your own niche. Don't follow trends, you know? The second piece of advice I have is know who it is that you're talking to, you know? Figure out who your niche is. Like, are you talking to, do you want this music to bang on the snowboarding slopes, you know? Do you want this music to bang in like a Cadillac in the hood? Do you want this music to be for the blog nerds? Like, you know, who is your music for? You know, so that you can concentrate your efforts on whoever it is that you think is gonna love your music the most. You know, so know who it is that you want to speak to.
Now, speaking of that, I mean, you have like the underground, kind of like the independent artists to the mainstream. Like, how do you like collaborate and find like your niche through that way?
What you mean?
Well, you have like the mainstream that is like, you know, bump, 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 or, you know, Love in the Club, like that kind of stuff. Then you have like the underground, which I feel like is more like true to like yourself and that kind of stuff. So what would you suggest people try and do?
Do you. Like, yeah. The cats who are on mainstream radio right now and making all that stuff, like, they catch a bad rap, you know. I think a lot of them actually are like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just want to, you know, spend money and deal with girls and, you know, party. And that is true to life. People actually drink champagne. People actually talk to girls. And people actually spend lots of money. You know what I'm saying?
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so that's true to life, you know? Now, if it's true to their life or not, that's a whole nother issue. And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know any of these cats personally, you know? So whatever. If as long as they're doing them, that's fine. And so what I would say to you is, you know, any artist coming up is, you know, if that's what you're striving for, you know, just live it. You know what I'm saying? I had a talk with my boy Malkovich yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. You know, I asked him the same question you asked me. I was like, yo, you know, what advice would you give to an up-and-coming artist? And he said, yo, just make sure whatever you're talking about, you're living it, you know? And that's the truth.
Now, you have a new album coming out.
Yep.
It's The Lone Wolf. And it's Seven Believe. And Born and Bred, Baby. Like,
yeah.
How many years has it been since?
That album.
Because you have your first one right now,
Yeah, The
right?
Little Folk.
Yep.
The Little Folk, which you can get on by subscribing to thegoodlook.net. The Lone Wolf. Man, we started recording that album in 2004. So it's been 5 years in the making of like constantly just writing, recording, like going back and retracking and listening to it for like a year, you know what I'm saying? Then coming back and be like, man, we need to tighten this up. And we both lived in New York at the time when we started recording that, writing and recording it. And he's from LA. That's my boy Belief, who did all the production on the album. There's only 9 songs on there. And he did all the production. And he's from LA, but we were both living in New York at the time.
Okay.
He was kind of bi-coastal, and then I moved out here. So we kind of recorded that album between LA and New York, bouncing back and forth. So it's kind of a time capsule of an era, too.
How do you come up with the names of the song? Like, the first one is Puddinhead.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Puddinhead is based on this. I grabbed the title from a Mark Twain album. Mark Twain has a story, a play, I believe, called The Tragedy of Puddinhead Wilson. And it's about this kid who his mother was a slave, and his father was the slave owner's son, and the slave owner's son raped his mother, you know, and so he was a product of rape, just putting hit. And he, you know, he was born kind of light-skinned, and so he had like weird privileges, you know what I'm saying? But he was also the son of a slave, and so he kind of dealt in both of these worlds at the same time, like the world of a free person and the world of a slave. And I was reading up on the story back around the time I was writing this album, which has a lot of folk tales and parables and canticles and, you know, the storytelling kind of things. And I was relating to him because, you know, I feel like I'm in a few different worlds at the same time. Like, I know I grew up in the underground, you know, with underground music and just the underground aesthetic, you know what I'm saying? I'm very comfortable with it, but I also love like everything else. You know, I love shiny things, you know what I'm saying? I love parties and good times and the thought of lots of money and, you know, the more worldly things, you know what I'm saying? And I can understand where people are coming from. And I also, you know, my whole life I've dealt in dualities. You know, I've always been like an inch away from the cats on the street and an inch away from the cats with tons of money, you know, and I've always been the in-between guy, you know what I'm saying, like who can talk to everybody. So Putting Head is about identity, you know, and growing up and maybe having to shed old skin that don't work for you no more, and learning how to move on but still relate to where you came from.
Totally. The song's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I was listening to it the other day.
All right.
So you get most of, like, you know, when you're writing songs stuff, inspiration from yourself, and then also from, I guess, like books and all that kind of stuff. So is that what you do most of the time? Like when you have something on your mind, you just sit and start writing songs?
My songwriting process, a lot of my songs start at the bar. Like, I like to go out drinking. And I like to sit down and talk to people, you know, and just soak in life. I like to take walks, you know, and just talk to people. And people are stories, you know. And the more people you talk to, the more stories you have to tell, you know. So typically, you know, that's where my songwriting process starts. You know, I'll be talking, we'll be chilling, having a slice of pizza or something, and then you'll say something, I'll be like, yo, that would be a crazy song concept. Anybody who knows me will tell you that. Like, I'll just be in the middle of a conversation and be like, yo, that's a song title. Yo, that's a song concept. Yo, I need to write that down. I whip out my phone and just write down, you know, as it's like songs happen to me, you know what I'm saying? I try not to think about what my next song is going to be anymore. I just let them happen.
Do you have a favorite song that you've written that's on here? It's on
Yes.
the Lone Wolf?
Yeah. Sweet Potato Pie, the last song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why Sweet Potato Pie?
Why the name?
Why
or
is the
song?
name and why is the song?
I don't know. You know, that's one of those songs that I can't really take credit for writing. Like, that song, I was walking around with that beat for probably about 3-4 months, not knowing what I was gonna do with it. And then one day, I was just watching TV with my homeboy, and I blacked out. I was like, yo, I'll be back. I went downstairs, and I wrote the song in 5 minutes. You know, like my pen just started moving, you know? And so it just felt like that's one of the purest songs I've ever written. Sweet Potato Pie, I don't know why I called it that. When you listen to the song, you'll kind of get it, you know? It's just it's a limerick. It's like a what you call it? Like one of them old school nursery rhymes. It's like a nursery rhyme.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Sweet Potato Pie is just kind of like the bell ringer that, you know, that catches you up in the nursery rhyme. You know, it's real melodic and hypnotic. And so you'll get it.
Yeah, definitely have to check that out.